Hello, everybody. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah.
Yes.
Awesome. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and we will get started. All right, so we are in Unit 5, which is our last and final unit for the semester. It's kind of involved with a lot of deliverables, which is why we have so much time in it, but I've spaced it out and kind of paced it so that you should be able to complete the unit in small chunks. I think that's a lot more manageable than in the past. I've done it where everything was just due the last week and lots of people missed lots of points. So instead, we're going to kind of, like I said, break it up into chunks and do different parts of this job package each week as we go forward into the end of class. I think this is arguably the most important unit of the entire class because even though everything we've done has been real world based and taught you skills that you can actually use once you have landed your post college job, this is the unit that's going to help you actually get that job. One thing I like to point out to students who are getting near the end of their college career or are maybe at the end if this is your last semester is that make sure that you have realistic expectations, right? I think that a lot of us expect to get out of college and have that degree in hand and automatically jump into a job that's making 50, 60, 70 or 1,000 or more a year, or a job that's supervisory or management level. That doesn't typically happen. Typically, you're going to end up in an entry level type of position and it's not going to pay what you want and you might not even be real happy with what you're doing. That being said, you can move up so quickly through the ranks when it comes to starting out with that entry level, not so fun position. And within literally 6 months, you can be in a place that's much closer to where you want to be. So don't be afraid. I guess all of that being said, don't be afraid to take a job that you consider less than you deserve because every job is a stepping stool and it really can change very, very quickly for you, especially if you have great work ethic, you're showing up on time, and you're proving that you are worth more than what they hired you for. Um, I I myself have gone up the ladder very, very quickly, and I've seen lots of other people do it too. So just keep that in mind when you start your job search. Um, I want to start out with a couple of interesting statistics to share with you guys. So don't be intimidated by having a lack of experience. Having that college degree in hand definitely makes you competitive for getting in. And note the underlined part here, it's entry level candidate, right? It makes you competitive to 87% of recruiters. So that means that in comparison to an entry level candidate without a college degree, 87% of recruiters thought that having that college degree makes you more competitive. So it's definitely worth your time to finish out your degree and have it in hand. It is a really good idea to understand how to do a great interview, both in person and these days on Zoom or even sometimes on the phone. You can easily Google interview tips and skills, and it's not something that you should just brush off and think, oh, well, I'm really good at having conversations, or I've already had 10 interviews in my life, so I know how to do it. Trust me, no matter how good you are or how many interviews you've gone through, you can always improve. And an interview is what really makes or breaks the job offer, whether or not you get one. Don't settle too quickly. Some of you guys have already talked about this on our discussion board in terms of knowing what you're worth and negotiating for your salary. 68% of businesses have actually increased the average salary offer for candidates, and that's because of all the recruiter negotiations. So that means that there's a lot of what we would call headhunters out there. So recruiting or hiring firms that all they do is they search sites like Indeed and LinkedIn for resumes, and they find resumes that their clients, being the businesses, would be interested in. And the recruiters kind of work for both the business and the people who they're contacting, the resumes that they're finding, and they're trying to find a happy medium. So it's actually been a really positive thing for us on the side, the job seeking side, because they are negotiating those salaries up a little bit higher. And this last one is nearly half of all professionals, which is 49%, are following companies on social media. And that really will help you stay aware of job openings. All of the major companies, whether you're in accounting or you're in healthcare, or even if you want to go into sales and retail, their social media sites are letting you know when they have job openings, and whether those are entry level or their management level or even up at the VP level, they're posting these things online. So aside from the typical job sites like Indeed.com, you can also start following companies that you're interested in on social media. Oh, I guess I had one more. 90% of recruiters have rejected candidates due to a lack of cultural fit. And that's something else that we've been talking about on the discussion board already, is kind of having a professional and personal brand that's established, like who you are, what your personality is like, what you're going to bring into the company. That is really important, more and more so as time goes on. Companies are starting to care about the feel that they have. And Google was really a pioneer when it came to that. Like, they started to allow people to bring their pets to the office and dress really casually, and just all, they've got like video games there at their corporate headquarters. So, and they have naps and massages, all kinds of things. So that whole idea of corporate and the business suits and the ties, that is slowly but surely going away. And more companies are going with the more social type of cultural environment. But it's important to know which cultural environment is appropriate for your field, your industry, and the company that you want to work for. And you want to appear as though you fit in to whatever environment you're hoping to get into. All right, so that's the brief intro to the unit. And now let's take a look at the hard work that we will do over the next couple of weeks to get you ready to hit the ground running when it's time to find that job. So we have 5 main deliverables in this unit. And before we go in there, I want to just switch into the course. So this is the homepage of the course, and you can see that the writing assignments are all broken out. The very first thing that you'll need to do for this unit is due on April the 9th. You just need to find a job ad that you want to work with for the unit to create your cover letter and resume. You do not actually have to apply to this job. In fact, I encourage you to pick a job ad that is for someone who will have the degree that you're going to have when you're done. So don't pick a job that you could get now. If you're going for nursing, then pick a job ad that's for an actual nurse with the degree in hand. If you're going for marketing, pick a job that wants you to have a bachelor's in marketing or a bachelor's in business or something like that. I want you to get practice doing what you're going to do when you're ready, not so much what you're looking to do before you graduate. So first and foremost, find that ad, and you're going to go ahead and post not the link to the job ad, because job ads go away, they expire. So you're going to copy all of the text from the job ad into a Word document or make a PDF and attach that here. And it's just worth a quick 5 points just to ensure that you've got a job ad to tailor your resume and cover letter to. Okay, so that's really the first thing you've got to do, but these are the 5 main deliverables in order. So the first thing is a research memo, and this is going to basically get you more familiar with your industry and some of the details, the data, the salary requirements, as you kind of go up the ladder, and the research trends, all of these things about your industry. You want to know them. You're going to be a more effective job seeker. You're going to be more effective at interviewing, and you're going to be able to make your resume and cover letter a lot better if you're familiar with the industry too. So make sure that you thoroughly address all the aspects of each question, because in your research, the research memo has got an assignment prompt, and it lists questions for you to answer. All you have to do, look up the answers, go through, and then write that out in a formalized way like you've been doing all semester. So it's a memo with your to, from, date, header up at the top, just like you've been doing. Use headings throughout, and you can just address it to me to explain your industry to me. Make sure you're writing professionally. Make sure that you cite your sources in APA style. And the next item on the list here is the cover letter and resume. We're going to go into more detail about these on a different slide, but the basics are that they're going to be targeted to a specific job ad. Of course, they're going to be professional and error-free and the appropriate length, which we'll talk about what that is in a moment. Then we've got your LinkedIn profile and your elevator pitch, right? So all these pieces coming together. You want to make sure that for your LinkedIn profile picture and for the elevator pitch that you record, that you look professional. I actually had a student upload a LinkedIn profile picture of themselves and a t-shirt with their dog before, and that is not appropriate. And it doesn't, unless you're, I suppose, unless you're going for veterinary medicine or something like that, maybe that could be appropriate. But this student was not. They were a computer graphic technology major, so it didn't work. You need to look professional. I'm not saying you have to have a suit and tie, but it needs to be you. Oh, I had another student who put like their prom picture, literally themselves and their date. That was their LinkedIn profile picture. Not okay. LinkedIn is a professional job networking site. Your picture needs to be a headshot of you looking professional, and that's it. Make sure that in your profile and in your elevator pitch that you have a really great message that you're conveying that has to do with that professional brand that some of the readings address. And we want to contribute to the brand in a meaningful way. That's what the purpose of your LinkedIn profile and elevator pitch are for. So let's take a little bit more of an in-depth look at each piece. As I already mentioned, knowing your industry is really important. It's going to help you set realistic salary and position expectations in terms of what your responsibilities might be. It's also going to help you identify gaps in your own knowledge. So if you're researching your industry and you're coming across things you've never heard of, this means that you have some work to do in order to be more familiar with the industry and to be able to hold your own in an interview. Depending on where you're at in your academic career, like if you're a sophomore, you probably have a lot of gaps in your knowledge. So that shouldn't be super concerning for you. If you're a junior or a senior and you're coming across a lot of information or research trends that you're not aware of, that should be concerning to you. And you should really work hard to get yourself up to speed. Obviously, you want to understand relevant skills and values for the industry that you're hoping to get into. And you want to know what is the most current, news breaking, most recent advance that's going on within your industry, both because you just need to know and because it's going to make you shine in an interview if you know what's going on in terms of current events. So really the research memo, simple, it's very straightforward. Just answer the questions, put it in a professional memo format and turn it in. Nothing too crazy there. Any questions about that before I go forward?
No.
Oh.
No, I don't think so.
All righty. Then the next item on the list, or the next item on the due date list, I should say, is going to be your elevator pitch. And you're going to be using Camtasia to polish up your elevator pitch. You can add in your phone number and email address, like at the very end of your elevator pitch. You can say something like, I'd really love to discuss this position further. Please send me an email at the email address below, right? So you can reference something below and then have it come onto the screen right when you say it. Or you can choose to have an opening screen that provides your contact information, right? You can do so many things with Camtasia to jazz up your elevator pitch and make it really effective. So a couple of other points for elevator pitch. You have to be dressed professionally. For the guys, this means that you should have a button-up shirt on. You can do a tie. I recommend a tie. I'm not saying you have to do a tie to get an A. I'm saying that if you want to use this elevator pitch as something that maybe you'll put on your LinkedIn profile or you'll use going forward, wear a tie. It's going to look more professional. Your hair should be styled however you style it, long, short, whatever the case may be, whatever you consider professional and neat looking, it should be styled as such, no hats or anything like that. The elevator pitch is only going to capture you from the waist up. So, wear pajamas on the bottom, doesn't matter. Just whatever you've got on the top is important. For the ladies, you have a little bit more leeway when it comes to looking professional. You can do a button-up blouse, you can do a sweater, you can do even a dress. Don't do anything that's low cut or revealing. That's not professional. in any way, shape, or form. Your goal here is not to look quote unquote good, it's to look professional and respectable. So you want to have a higher neckline, or if you have something that's lower cut, you want to have like a camisole underneath it. It's okay to have something that's sleeveless and have your shoulders showing, but it's not okay to have skinny little straps. You can have, you know, like a full strap, I guess is the best way to say it. And yeah, when it comes for the ladies, of course, we have to be careful. So if you're questioning whether or not you look sexy or something like that, switch your outfit. Like if it's a question in your mind, then it could be a question in someone else's, and that's not what you want people to pay attention to. In your elevator pitch, you want them to pay attention to how well spoken you are and to all of the qualities and awesome attributes that you have, not what you're wearing or how you look and what you're wearing. So keep it really professional and respectable. Same with makeup for the ladies. Don't go overboard. You know, whatever you would normally wear, that's perfect. You know, you want to be true to yourself, but don't go over the top. Keep your jewelry simple. There's no need to have, you know, earrings, a necklace, a bracelet, and a headband and all of that. Just keep it really simple. Again, you just want the attention to be on what you're saying, not what you look like. Guys, you again have it a little bit easier. A watch is great. Don't have sunglasses sitting on top of your head. Anything like that. Again, keep it simple. You want to speak clearly when you are delivering your elevator pitch. Some of us speak clearly really naturally. Other people need to practice that, slow down, work on enunciating. Some of us actually speak too slow, and we need to work on speaking at a little bit more of a conversational pace. And of course, we don't want our elevator pitch to be 4 minutes long. You want it to kind of fit right in the 45-second to minute and a half frame. So work on your speech and your delivery so that it sounds natural when delivered in that kind of time frame. For this particular item, definitely write a script and practice it again and again and again so that you can deliver it to your computer as though you were sitting across the table from a person that you were talking to. You want it to be conversational and you want it to come across as very natural, even though you're really going to be memorizing it. You have to work hard to write something, memorize it, and then have it sound natural when you present it. And that's okay. This is a class, you're earning a grade. I expect you to work hard. So that is an element that's graded here, your actual delivery of the elevator pitch. If I can see your eyes reading something on the screen, or if you've got, God forbid, note cards in front of you and you keep looking down to read them, that's going to hurt your grade. So you really need to write out what you want to say here and get really good at saying it so that you can deliver it well. Winging it here is strongly not recommended. It's not going to come across as professional if you try to wing it. Find a professional background when you record. So you don't want to have obviously laundry in the background, or, you know, a dog or cat walking by, or kids running around, even traffic. Like you really don't want movement in your background. So find something simple, you know, curtains with a simple pattern, or just a plainly painted wall. I've had students record sitting at a professional desk setting before, and I think that looks really sharp and great. So you can do that. If you are in the healthcare field and you want to record in a healthcare type of setting, I think that's great. You can definitely kind of make different elements work for you. Just beware of anything that is unprofessional. Like you don't want to really record in a kitchen, or obviously a bathroom or a laundry room or anything like that. So think about that before you sit down and record. And experiment with camera views and angles. I've had many students submit elevator pitches where I'm literally looking up their nose. That doesn't look good. It's not professional. No one wants to watch that. And of course, we all have different angles that are the most flattering. So play around with your phone or whatever you're using to record until you find what is the most complimentary to you. In the elevator pitch assignment prompt, you will see that it goes over what types of things you should talk about. And I kind of actually, I think, give you like a bullet pointed list to start building your script on. So I'm not covering that here because it's outlined really clearly in the prompt, but you do want to stick with what the expectations are in terms of content. Any questions about this stuff? All right.
No.
Oh, last one, I guess. Try not to sound or look like a robot. I think that goes without saying. And that's what comes with practicing your script. Okay, so we're going to talk about the cover letter and resume. And there are a lot of misunderstandings or misconceptions, I think, about cover letters. So I'm just going to spell out what the actual expectations are. A cover letter, the purpose of it is to help the reader get to know you. So a lot of people think the purpose of a cover letter is just because almost like how students hate to do references and like the APA citations, it's like, oh gosh, they just make us do these, just to give us more work. And a cover letter seems the same way when you're job searching. Like, great, it's just one more thing that I have to attach when I'm applying for a job. So a lot of people will just put together, or even worse, download a template that says, I'm excited to apply for XYZ position. I have all the skills that you're looking for, and I will be a great addition to your company. These are horrible. We don't want to submit really generic cover letters. You want the reader to read the cover letter and be like, wow, this person is interesting. They have interesting things to say. I want to know more about them, and they're a really great writer. Like, all of those things can happen if you have a really good cover letter. You also want to use your cover letter to highlight any skills or experiences that you can't fully explain on your resume. So the resume is a very dry, basic document that just lists out experiences and dates, right, and locations. Your cover letter is not dry and black and white. It is a piece of writing that you can use to tell a story. So if you've got something that is relevant to the job that you're applying for or the industry, a research project that you worked on or a competition that you won, anything that you can't convey in a simple bullet point, you use the cover letter to explain and elaborate on that, to tell your reader, the job, the hiring committee, to tell them a little bit more about you. That's the opportunity that you have to get their interest. As I already mentioned, you can demonstrate your writing skills in your cover letter and provide some contact information. Of course, that's on your resume too, but it's just another way for you to slide your email address and phone number in there. And of course, our tone for a cover letter, it should be professional and it should be polite, but it should also be conversational. You want for your reader to hear your voice in your cover letter, for your cover letter to sort of stand out amongst the sea of probably hundreds, if not thousands, of applications that they're receiving. If your cover letter speaks to them and they feel like, wow, this actually made me feel like I was talking to this person, then you have a better chance of getting a call for an interview. Last but not least, and this one's so important, do not repeat your resume in your cover letter. So you're not going to say, in my position as a secretary at this company, I did these things, and then just basically list the bullet points from your resume. There's no reader in the world wants to look at your resume, read the bullet points, and see your cover letter and see all the exact same information. Why would they read the same thing twice? So cover letter should not repeat any bullet points from your resume at all. That's not only a major point deduction for the assignment, it's also not going to get you an interview, guaranteed. All right, so resumes, do's and don'ts. Before I share mine, I'll ask you guys to go ahead and jump in. What are some do's and don'ts that you know about resume writing?
Short and to the point.
That's as a do or a don't?
As a do.
Definitely. Yes, you want it to be short as possible, to be honest. And I'm going to give you a page length requirement, actually, and to the point. Exactly. You just get right to it. No beating around the bush with the resume. Good.
It shouldn't have like too fancy of a template.
Definitely. You want to keep it simple and easy to look at. There was a moment in time, like in the early 2000s, when super fancy resume templates were all the rage. Like, people were putting their pictures on them and using all kinds of color and graphic designs. Like, nope, that's no longer a thing, and it's not going to earn you any points. Great comment. I'll wait for a few more.
Um, I think I've heard this one before, and but for a don't, you shouldn't what do you want to call it? Like for example, like say like say you quit a job, or actually wait, hold on. No, I, actually never mind, never mind. I was thinking of something else. My bad.
Oh, you can't never mind it. Are you
Okay,
sure?
okay, fine. Okay, fine. So a don't is like I mean, kind of like using excuses. I guess it would be for a reason why, say, you got fired, or like a reason why you quit the job and everything like that. Like, would that be a good idea, or would it kind of be like, should you explain yourself?
Yeah, that's actually a really good question. And it is, it's relevant to the resume, it's relevant to the cover letter, and it's relevant to the whole unit. So if you have lost your job, and that there's all different reasons we lose jobs, right? We get laid off, the company downsizes, or maybe we screw up and we actually get fired. You do have to be honest about it, obviously, if because it might be you might need to have the job on your resume. Like, if my suggestion would be, if you actually got fired from a job for doing something wrong or bad, like you really screwed up, I would try as hard as you can to not have to have that job on your resume. But if it's like a 2 year time period and you can't have that kind of a gap and you have to have it on there, that's when you would actually use your cover letter to try to offer some type of explanation. And you do. So you do want to offer an explanation for losing a job. And you obviously want it to be as complimentary to yourself as possible while still being honest. So we can't lie and we can't make things up. If there's no way to make it complimentary to yourself that you lost the job because you screwed up, and I mean, we all do at times, then you just simply need to acknowledge it. Unfortunately, I lost my position at this company. However, I was able to utilize the next 2 months of downtime to learn some extra information about the industry before I landed this next great position, right? So you can kind of gloss over it, like, yeah, I lost this job, but I turned it around and made it a positive thing. That's kind of always key, is gloss over negatives that you can't hide and turn them around into positive experiences. I hope that's helpful advice for anybody who needs it in that situation. What else? What other do's or don'ts can you guys think of? One more and I'll let you off the hook.
You shouldn't use any jargon or cliches.
Good, definitely. Cliches are a big no-no. So you want to avoid anything, because cliches aren't considered professional. So I'm trying to think of a job relevant cliche. Let's see, we can actually pop over here to cliches to avoid on resumes. Yeah, so it's saying right here in this little list, don't use vague buzzwords, don't oversell professional accomplishments. Those aren't really cliches, I guess. Detail oriented, there we go. Results driven, self-motivated, go-getter, seasoned. These are all cliches, right? And these are all words that probably you guys have on your resume or you're going to want to use on your resume, but you want to avoid them. They are generic. Like, everybody says that they're well organized or that they're good at multitasking. Those are cliches and they're overused, and you want to avoid them. Jargon, I would say I'm not 100% sure that I'm going to agree with you on that. I think that jargon is important, actually, depending on the field that you're in. So if you're in if you're working on a coding or like a computer relevant degree and you know about coding, you're going to use all kinds of jargon on your resume because your reader's going to understand it. So I guess that's key. You can use jargon if it's relevant to your field and it's industry specific. All right, so let me cruise through some of these do's and don'ts, which I think will reflect some of the ones we've already talked about. So best practices, these are the do's. Keep it on one page. There's no exception to this rule. I've been teaching for almost 8 years. I've never encountered a student who legitimately needed to have a resume that's more than one page long. There's just no reason. And it's not even just because you're students. There's just no reason for really anyone, unless you have a ton of like publications that you like, if you're an academic or something and you have a curriculum vitae instead of a resume, there's no reason for it to be longer than a page. Recruiters are not going to read more than the first page anyway. Most of them don't even read past the first half of the first page. So it is not to your benefit to have a super long resume. It doesn't impress anyone. It doesn't get read. So for our class, and my strong recommendation, even outside of class, is keep it at 1 page. Leave some white space. So don't bump out your margins all the way to the edge and shrink down your font size to font size 7 so that you can fit it on 1 page. It needs to be easy on the eye. Remember everything we learned about navigating documents and making them accessible for your readers. You do not want to have an objective statement. So this is another thing that was back like in the 90s and early 2000s. We started with these awful objective statements that would say things like, objective is to obtain a position of responsibility within an accounting department wherein I can exercise my skills and experience and my knowledge from school or something like that, right? No. So no objective statement that says what you are seeking as a job seeker. The person reading your resume does not care what you are seeking. They care what you can give to them and their company and how you can improve their department or the company. So instead of an objective statement, you want to write a descriptive summary that sells yourself, right? So this is you marketing yourself, and it's up at the very top of your resume. It could be 1 sentence, it could be maybe 3 to 5 sentences at most. So this descriptive summary is going to say something like, highly motivated marketing professional with experience in social media leveraging, something like that. As someone commented, really direct and to the point, but also really effective marketing in terms of saying what you can do for the company and why they would want to hire you. You're going to change that descriptive summary to go along with whatever job it is you're applying for. You're going to use keywords from the job ad to help you make an effective summary. So it doesn't have to be a stagnant thing that never changes. It changes according to the job ad. You want to use short 1-line bullets that include action verbs. So no bullets that are like paragraphs. You want very concise and to the point, easy to read bullets. When I'm talking about action verbs, I'm going to give you a really great tip. You can just Google action verbs for resumes, and it's unbelievable. Like I love this one from the Muse, 185 different action verbs. And I think it kind of puts them into different categories for you. Sorry, let me get rid of that. So if you led a project, instead of saying led a project, look at all these great words. You coordinated, executed, orchestrated, produced. If you envisioned or brought a project to life, you developed, devised, engineered, established, right? I mean, the list just goes on and on. Spearheaded, like that's a really great word. You want to use words that not everybody else is using. So if you want to avoid the cliches and not get a headache trying to figure out better words, just go to Google and look up action verbs for resumes, and you will have no shortage of words to replace your old and boring words. Okay, so getting through all of these, organize the content in your favor, meaning you want the most relevant job to be at the top. So not always your most recent job has to go at the top. Organizing chronologically isn't that important. It's more important because, as I mentioned, recruiters statistically only read the first half of the first page of your resume. You want to showcase what is going to make you look best. Sometimes that's your degree. So some resumes feature a college degree at the very bottom because it's not that important. If your degree is important in your field, then you want it to be education to be up top before your job experience. So really kind of just depends on you, your industry, and the specific job that you're applying for. If a degree is not required, it doesn't really make sense to put your degree up at the top of the resume because they don't care and you're wasting space. You are going to include a LinkedIn anchor text link, which just basically means a hyperlink at the top of your resume. So most resumes now are sent digitally, and this way your reader can just quickly click and go right to your LinkedIn profile. and make sure that you proof your resume 100,000 times so that it is perfect. As a recruiter myself, or I guess I was never a recruiter, but when I would have to hire, at a job I had just about a year and a half ago, I had to hire 15 people to build up a team. And I got hundreds of applications. And if I looked at a cover letter and resume and there was one mistake, I put it in the no bin on my computer, not physically. Why? Because I had hundreds of them to look through and I had to find reasons to eliminate. So a lot of recruiters statistically, again, are shown to eliminate resumes and cover letters for any mistake because there's so many that have zero mistakes. You don't want to be in that no pile just for a simple spelling error or something like that. So proof it, proof it, proof it, proof it. Ask someone else to proof it. Make sure it's perfect. And last on the best practices, only use references if asked for, or if you don't really have a lot of experience, like you've only got a half page worth of stuff and it doesn't look great to have an empty bottom half of the page, go ahead and use references to fill that space up. Okay, so good practices quickly. Make sure that you're including your email address, phone number, and city and state at the top. You don't have to include your street address. That's kind of old school, but your city, state are important. Use bolding to help your readers navigate. So choose what you're going to bold, either your positions or the company that you worked for. You can even bold certain bullet points if they're really relevant to the job ad. Cut out any extra or obvious information. So if you were a secretary, you don't have a bullet point that says that you answered a phone because that's what secretaries do. So we don't need to tell the readers what any normal person would know. You only want to put bullet points that are unique and things that not everybody with that job title would have done. So if you were a cashier, you're not going to have a bullet point that says handled cash because that's really obvious and it's a waste of space. The exception to that, again, is if you really don't have enough to fill your space, then you're going to need to have some bullet points and some of them might be obvious. But if that's not the case for you, then you cut the obvious stuff and only include what's interesting. Make sure that you're using a readable font that is not super scripty and not cartoonish. You want it to just be professional. If you're going to use design elements, if you're a marketing major or a computer graphic design major or something like that, it's appropriate to use some graphic design elements on your resume, but keep it simple and classy. And as we already said, you're going to use active or action verbs to describe your work. So the poor practices, which are the don'ts, do not include your name in huge font at the top of the resume. It can be a little bit bigger than everything else, but it shouldn't be enormous. Don't write long narratives about your experience. I have seen lots of resumes lately that have paragraphs that write in the first person and tell these little stories. That's not a thing. Don't do it. No one's going to read it. Don't forget to proof your work. I can't say that enough. Don't leave half the page blank. And don't omit information because you don't feel like looking it up. Meaning if you're not really sure like what year you worked for a company and you don't feel like going back to your records to figure it out, or you don't really remember like where the company was located, you need to dig it up. It's worth it to have a full and complete and accurate resume. Don't use inappropriately casual language. I've seen this a couple of times where people are like, well, that's just me and I'm really casual and I don't want to come across as someone I'm not. More power to you and good luck. You won't do well on the assignment. Maybe you'll do well in the real world, but I think it's a huge risk that's probably not worth taking. And don't copy from web templates. Of course, you can use the physical template, but don't use generic bullet points that you find online. Okay, so that was a lot. That's a lot of do's and don'ts. Oh, one more don't. Do not include high school on your resume. Nobody cares about that. You're in college, you're gonna have a college degree. That implies that you graduated from high school, and like the job market, like they don't care about high school. Maybe if you were like valedictorian or you won some huge award, like if there's something super impressive about you and your high school experience, maybe. But generally speaking, recruiters and hiring managers, they just don't care. So keep it off of your resume. This is just a little bit of a note about keywords and applicant tracking systems, or ATS. So you want to make sure that you are aligning your language in your cover letter and your resume with the job ad. So this little example just says that you're applying for a position, say as a content writer, because that's what the job ad says. They're looking for a content writer, but your resume says content creator. Well, it's possible that just that one change of word, writer versus creator, it could mean that your resume doesn't get looked at because the recruiter or the electronic system that's scanning the resumes is looking specifically for content writer, not content creator. So you really do want to look at the job ad. I even actually highlight what I think the keywords are in the job ad that the recruiter or hiring manager is going to be looking for. And then I disperse those throughout my resume and cover letter in order to try to make sure that I get found when the search is happening. A couple of tips. As I said, mirror the job description, spell out acronyms and include the acronym itself. So an acronym is this abbreviation like MBA, and it stands for Master of Business Administration. Do both of them in your cover letter and resume, because this way you ensure that if the system is searching for one or the other, you've got both. Always write out years in their entirety on your resume and cover letter. Don't use the little apostrophe abbreviation. Okay, so running into our LinkedIn profile now. There are 5 grading points for your LinkedIn profile, and I pick these because these are what recruiters and hiring managers look for. So your professional photo, your about section, I want you to include a link to your elevator pitch, and of course, you're going to complete your education and experience section. Just in case anyone is unfamiliar with LinkedIn, you shouldn't be, right? Because this was the topic of our Unit 1 assignment, but you'll need to go to linkedin.com and you'll need to sign up for an account and create one for the purposes of the assignment. You can delete it afterwards if you want, but I recommend keeping it because it really is a good networking tool. So I want to show you my LinkedIn profile really quickly, and you can find me on LinkedIn and connect with me if you want to, just because, or if you want to just look at my profile to get an idea of what I'm looking for, that's fine too. So, you know, we've got like the headshot that's, I guess, at least decently professional. I chose to change my background here to have a pencil. I'm not real thrilled with not being able to see the whole pencil, but hey, that's how it turned out. My about section is well written, should be. I'm a writer, so it's well written, it's full, and it's thorough, and I am describing a little bit about who I am, what I like to do, what I'm currently doing, just kind of a little snapshot about me. Yours does not have to be this long. It's okay if yours is, you know, just like this long. I think 3 to 5 sentences is the requirement for the assignment. You are going to write this about section totally separately from anything else. It's not going to be present on your cover letter. It's not going to be present on your resume. It's its own thing. It's your LinkedIn about section, and it should be conversational and interesting and get people to want to scroll down. In your experience section, you'll see I have several things where there's like no discussion. This is not good. So this is a bad aspect of my LinkedIn profile. If I was really heavily looking for jobs right now, I would have already edited this, but I'm really not right now. So what yours should look like, your experience sections, they should look, let's see, more like this one. So I've got a discussion about what I did as a social media coordinator for this company. And I talked about, again, exactly what I did, being very specific. I talked about my strengths in this particular role and how I helped the company. So I developed new content and themes to bring value to the business's target audience, right? So there's writing involved for the experience section of your LinkedIn profile. The easy way to do this is after you have your resume bullet points all polished up and looking good, take those bullet points and turn them into a paragraph. I call it talking them out. So you can talk out the bullet points of your resume and make it into something more conversational. What you can't do is copy bullet points from your resume and slap them on LinkedIn, because that's just duplicating something that your readers are looking at again. And readers don't want to just read the same thing over and over. They want to get a better understanding of you every time they look at something different. The same is true of your education portion of LinkedIn. So you're not just going to have just this little section of where you went and when you graduated. You're going to have a discussion about what you learned while you were earning your degree. So you can, again, take a look at mine to get a feel for what these should look like, and then work on writing your own. All right, and we are rounding things out here at the very end of the PowerPoint. I just wanted to let you know that feedback is available on your cover letter and your resume. I strongly, actually, even though it's quite a bit of extra work for me, I think it is really to your advantage to send me a draft of your cover letter and resume to get feedback. It's going to help improve your grade. And I just can't help myself when it comes to these, especially the resumes. I want you guys to have strong resumes going forward. So I will give you really good feedback and even make some changes and corrections and things for you so that you're leaving the class with a really strong document to continue building on. So, don't procrastinate, take advantage of this and get it to me by April 24th so that I can have time to give you feedback and take a look at it before the resume and cover letter are due for a grade. And then this is the list of due dates for all of this stuff. So the research memo is coming in kind of quickly. That's due this Sunday. Elevator pitch is due the following Sunday. So you've got a whole week to put that together and work on getting your script down and delivering that and recording it and then using Camtasia. You've probably only got a little bit of time left on your free trial. So make sure that you're cognizant of that. And then the cover letter and resume come in the following Sunday. And then your LinkedIn profile, the link to that is the very last thing that's due at the very end of the semester for our class. And that was a whole lot of information. It concludes the PowerPoint. I talked for a long time, and I know that sometimes it's hard to take a lot in over that period of time, but I really felt like I know that I have a lot to share when it comes to this topic. And the whole reason you guys are, in college is to get that awesome job after the fact. So I really like to dump out everything that I can to help you make that happen once you are done. I hope you found it helpful. If you have any questions or want further explanation on anything, you can definitely just let me know. I'm happy to do individual meetings or just shoot me an email, and I'll help you that way. So that's all I've got for you. If you have questions, go ahead and ask them. If you do not have any questions, then you can go ahead and sign out for the evening.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you. You too.
Actually, I have a question
Sure.
about it. So, okay, so like when you do so I remember in the beginning you were like saying about how we probably wouldn't be able to like basically make it about ourselves because like we don't have the degree and everything yet, so we have to do it for a person that like in the eyes of if after you get your degree and everything. So then for the cover letter and stuff like that, when you describe about yourself, do we kind of just make that up or do we still like give like key features of ourselves?
Yes, so you can kind of add to it, right? You can, I don't necessarily want you to make a whole lot up because I want this to be a cover letter that's relevant to you and useful going forward. So I guess don't really make anything up. No, you can talk about how you've already earned your degree. You can say, while I was earning my degree or something like that. But keep it genuine and honest.
Okay. That sounds good. All right. Well, thank you. You have a good rest of your night.
You're welcome. You too.